I'm Mark.
And I'm Pete.
This is Mark and Pete. Half Cut.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good name for it, yes. Pete is a clergyman, Mark is a businessman, and together we make this delectable duo of a businessman and a clergyman. We've been friends since, well, back in the 70s, when you could say anything that you liked and wouldn't be censored. And we're continuing that tradition.
Obviously, I've welcomed the prospect of doing the Mark and Pete show, but I'm only doing it because all of the pubs are now closed.
Yeah,
and
sadly,
that is the problem that I seem to face here, and I'm not the only one. It's ripped the heart out of the community. Now, I would imagine that there are many listeners who are probably sort of crying in their empty beer glasses thinking, what do we do? You know, this has now changed the way that we live, but it's also changed the way we do business.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, there's the pub. Going to the pub is really at the heart of how things are done in Britain. You go down the pub, meet people down the pub. I met a man down the pub and bought a dog, but it turned out to be an alligator. All that, you know, those. That didn't really happen. That's a classic joke.
No, it was a squirrel.
Amusing. Yeah. Yes, or you know, I bought this pigeon and it turns out to be a duck and that sort of thing. But yes, that's the sort of thing that can only happen in a pub, really. It's where you meet.
Remind me not to go to where you drink.
Yes. Well, you do go there. That's why our podcast normally.
That's why we are where we are.
It's made us what we are today, gentle listener.
Definitely.
Yeah, look, the pub is now. Let me start with the first problem with the pubs being closed. Now, we know that the pubs are closed for a good reason, to stop people from transmitting a terrible disease to each other. But we're looking at the good things about pubs and what we're missing by them not being open. And one thing is this: I would say that for many people, going down the pub is a way of getting away from the family. Now, this seems like a bad thing.
Getting away from your family.
Yes. Well, it can be a bad thing if people drink too much. And there was a tradition of men spending all their money down the pub and being violent to their wives. That's a bad thing. But when sensibly done, it can be a good thing. So the men go off down the pub, have a few pints, meanwhile the women can sort of tidy up the home and then relax. You know, it was a way of keeping marital harmony. You're not underneath each other's feet all the time. I mean, that's perfectly reasonable, isn't it? You say, "Bye, darling. I'm off down the pub. I'll see you later." That's.
I must admit
a word of advice to you.
I reference your 1970s sense of humour here.
This is serious advice. What I'm saying is, if you do that,
life has changed.
If you go down the pub and you say "see you later," never give a time, just in case you want one extra drink.
Right. Okay.
No, but that was slightly tongue in cheek. But seriously, this way of having somewhere to go and meet with your friends is a good thing, and that's what the pub provided. The bad side of it is, if it involves alcohol and the assumption you're going to drink too much, then the bad results that I was talking about, particularly if one person in the household is left alone, if the man goes, as often has been the case in the past, and the wife is left behind, then that's a bad thing. A better thing to do would be to go together, get a babysitter and go together. But still, if they're closed, you can't get out of the home then in that way and get have a bit of R&R time. As I say, preferably with couples going together, because then you've got time away from the kids, away from the home environment. You can relax. You can't do that, particularly not in this current climate where we're in lockdown. You're stuck in your home all the time. Drinking at home is not the same thing. It's not the drink, I would say, that makes a pub visit a good thing to do. It's the whole environment.
The fact you've got to serve yourself.
Well, there is that, but a pub is like a home, but it's a home away from home.
Well, it is. And this is the thing that this is my take on the
Yeah, go
closure
on.
of pubs, and we do understand quite rightly, and I think it's the right thing to do, sadly, but
To
we
close it,
know
yeah,
we have
yeah,
to suffer.
absolutely.
But what I would say is that and this does show you that a pub is there for a number of reasons. Yes, people go there to drink, but they also go there to converse, meet the locals, and hear what's going on in the community. Also, here's another thing. Actually, a lot of pubs do some decent meals. And so they're actually not just alcoholic centres, they're actually very good places to have a damn good meal. So, to me, that's another loss. I mean, there's some excellent chefs that are there and gives you good menus to sup and to savour. And the other thing is I say that most good pubs, and this is always a good measure of a pub, has a very good pool table. And it means that you can have not many people have got a space for a pool table, so you can actually have a decent game. So you can actually get everybody involved, and it's a great night. And or have a game of darts. I mean, why not? I mean, I know that those are the sort of things that you like to do, having a game of darts, throwing things around,
Well, yes,
brawling.
why not? Why not? Yeah. Well, I remember going to pubs back in the day when pub crawls were
Yes,
popular. Maybe they still
yes,
are. Back in my university days, and
yes,
going to some rather unsavoury pubs in Birmingham.
yes.
And when I say unsavoury, there was one particular pub. Well, let me just describe it, the gentle listener, and to you, Mark. You may know it. It was called the Brown Derby. Maybe you never came across
Ah,
it
yeah.
in Birmingham, and it was in a subway. We had subways going under not in a bread shop. I mean, a sandwich shop, but in a subway, as in where you go under the road, you
Why
walk
not?
under a main
Hey,
road.
they've got enough
Yeah,
business
but
opportunity.
and often you'd have toilets in those positions, and there were
Yes.
toilets in the subway, but one of those toilets wasn't a toilet; it was a pub. It was in the same sort of position
Yes.
as you would expect it to find toilets. So you go in there,
And you wonder what you were drinking.
and you wonder what you were drinking. But on one occasion, I was in there with some of my little friends going on a pub crawl. So the idea would be you would go from pub to pub and have a drink in each pub. If you were canny, you only took a sip from each drink, and then you could actually walk round.
Yes.
But supposedly you drank a whole drink in each pub. But there was one person being thrown out, and I've never seen anyone being thrown out quite so vigorously, being held by a large gentleman by his collar and the tail of his coat, and being thrown. And because it was the tail of his coat, not his trousers or anything, he swung too low, so to speak, and his nose hit the step on the way out, and you heard the crack as he was swung into the step. And I thought, people at that.
But you've recovered since.
Well, it wasn't me, but it did. The reason he was thrown out is he was in a fight, and I did get a little bit of blood on me, which is a bit disappointing. But
Oh,
I noticed no one complained because we didn't want the same thing to happen to us. But those sort of experiences of pubs, they could become part of the history of Britain. People have these conversations about,
yeah.
it
Well,
used to, about terrible things that happen in pubs. It used to be, this is what I was getting to, like how do you become a man in certain
yes.
cultures? Out in certain tribes in far-flung places, you might have to go and kill a saber-toothed lion. Maybe going back a
Yes.
bit there, back to the 70s,
Yes.
when there was
Slightly.
saber-toothed lions.
Yes, we always used to do that, folks.
But
in
you
the
have to go out
70s.
and kill something, or go and prove yourself in war, or something like that.
Yes.
While in Britain, you had to go and get drunk in the pub.
Yes. It was usually after a football match.
Yeah,
But yeah.
indeed, yes, that's the
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
I
So,
want to
so it's
mention
part
just
of
on
the
that.
culture. Without it,
Yeah.
there is something missing, even though there were bad things about it as well as good things. There's something
Yes.
ripped out of the heart of the culture, as you were saying earlier.
Well, I also want to mention something that this is a bit of an anecdote for our listeners,
Yes.
and this is something that you clergymen people will remember. I remember that
Yes, go
when
on.
you and I went on a bit of a pub crawl, we
Yes.
rather
Very rare, listeners. Very rare. I mean, we very rarely do that sort of thing.
we rather cheekily decided to gate crash a private event, and we thought, well,
Yes.
this would be great because we could have a pub,
Yes.
get in there and have a few drinks, and then sort of not have to pay the entrance fee. But
Yes.
somehow we managed to bypass the bouncer,
Yes,
and we found ourselves in what was a country and western dancing.
we did. Yes, and we didn't have a Stetson.
And what was odd, and
But
this
you
is
had a
the-
6-shooter. What?
that was the problem. What was strange is that we were faced with a shootout.
I know.
And
Yes, I remember it. Yes, yes.
and
It
so
was, and that was a whole other different subculture I didn't know about. They were dressed, most of them,
and
in
they
in
were
rollers,
dressed as cattle.
cowboys.
We were the only ones that. But this was the funny thing is, for some reason, we blended in and didn't realise
We stayed
that
there
we had that
pretty much the whole evening. They were finishing by the time
until
they kicked us
somebody
out. They just
realised
yeah.
that we weren't meant to be there. But the point is, those are the sort of things where, look, you want to have fun, you want to have a bit of enjoyment, but society, society is closed down. Where do people go now? I mean,
Yeah,
there is
yeah, I
another
know.
side to this. Of course, there's a serious side, which is, the businesses are going out.
Well,
They're just
pubs.
closing down.
Can I just say that
Pubs are closing down.
pubs are having problems anyway.
Yes.
And so they could easily go into the red and just not recover
Yes, and in
with
fact, a lot of the
with this
business
big
bailout which
impact.
the government has put in place, folks, and
Yeah,
we all know about that,
sure,
and that's a
sure,
good
yeah.
measure. But is it enough? Is it
Mm.
enough, folks? I mean, we know a song about this, don't we? Yes, I
Oh,
think it's fair
right.
to say.
I was hoping you
Yes,
wouldn't mention that, but of course,
yes.
doesn't
We
everyone
know
know the song?
a little
Okay,
song about that, and it's something that we think is appropriate to sing
yes,
at
about
your own
losing your
home
bottle.
bar.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and yes, and here we go. So on three, and a one, two, three. 10 green bottles standing on the wall. 10 green bottles about to go to the wall. And if one green bottle accidentally goes in the red, there'll be lots of broken glass on the ground in which to tread.
So
Okay.
we're not. I thought we were going again there.
Yes, yes. We could have gone round again, and we would have done for hours had
Yeah.
we been
Yes.
in a pub. But the point
Yes.
is that unfortunately, too many broken glass bottles of glasses, and now just basically what's left of our sort of recreational services, and then pubs and clubs and restaurants are still going to struggle. How
Yes.
many people are going to be able to get back on their feet, even if they're paid, even if they are paid? My argument now is, what happens when the coronavirus is hopefully removed from our world?
Yes.
What do
Yes.
we do? Are we going to see as many pubs and clubs open?
Yeah.
Will
Well,
people even want to go back? Will they have changed their habits?
yes. People might have changed their habits, and here I have to reluctantly admit something to you, Mike. It may be for the better.
Yes.
And gentle listener, this is
You're a
hard for me
teetotaler.
to admit to you. Well, I'm not a teetotaler, but I very rarely drink more than a glass or two of wine. So, and
Yeah.
that's a dinner. So
Mm.
I don't go to the pub. I'm sorry, I have to admit it, I don't go out to the pub anymore. Well, actually, I do, but this is would be almost worse. Actually, I go to the
Yeah.
pub every now and then. In fact, I have a monthly praise and worship session, basically a church service in the pub.
Yes.
So,
Are you?
it
Can
isn't
I just
quite the
say, is
sort of
that
thing
because
you
you're
expect.
praying for spirits?
Praying for spirits. Yes, I want to
Yeah.
be filled with the Holy Spirit and any other spirits I can find. No, that I mean, people do go and have a glass of beer, or sometimes someone will buy me a glass of wine. But because I'm usually doing most of the talking, doing a bit of
What a
bit of a
surprise!
sermon type thing. Yes, what a surprise! Yes. No, I mean when I'm meant to be.
No, was it?
The
Oh,
not like normal when I just won't shut up. But on the on this occasion, I meant to talk. Well,
listen to
so I
this.
don't often go to pubs anymore now. What has stopped me from going? It's partly having a family,
You've
so
been
you
banned.
need. The problem, yet listening, I'd already been banned from all the pubs in Great Britain, and therefore,
Yes.
so to go. No, it was really the cost. I have to say, it's just cost too
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that we were seeing that something could be done about that. Part of the advantages of Brexit would have been the opportunity to maybe encourage these local microbreweries, by
Yeah.
maybe cutting the tax on beers and wines if they're brewed locally. There was opportunity there, but that may be something else that we don't see. But the question I want to ask is, if you don't go to the pub and you normally go to the pub, what do you do? I saw this video of when back on Friday, the last Friday, when the pubs hadn't yet closed. It was the last night, and there was sort of a great rush. Sort of you may remember, Mark, back in the day, that there was always last orders.
Oh yes,
which used to be
yes. It was always
10:30,
fun
didn't
time.
it?
That was. Yeah.
Wasn't it 10:30? Then it moved to 11.
Well, probably maybe in a bit later. I think they opened it up a bit later, didn't they?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
But at that point, if you didn't have your drink already bought when they
Or
rang
you
the
weren't
bell,
pressed up against the bar.
yes, that you weren't going to get
Yes.
you weren't going to get your last drink, and then you might as well go home. Occasionally, you get a shut in, which I think not strictly legal, but they used to have. But this
And you used to wake up in the morning and realize that you've been shut in.
yes, yeah. But this sort of this closing of the pubs on that Friday was like the biggest, most spectacular last orders you'd ever seen. When people they make a rush for the bar when the bell goes for last orders. They made a huge rush, and I remember people being interviewed. There was a woman being interviewed by someone from a mainstream media outlet. So, what are your plans for this evening? And she said, "Get drunk." And I thought that was a bit of an obvious question, wasn't it? Like
Yes.
when you've won a tennis match, how do you feel? Oh well, I feel devastated. But the one guy was asked about what he thought about closing them, and he said, "Closing the pubs? What's that all about, eh?"
Hey,
And
yeah.
my best London accent. Now, of course, what didn't really.
Oh, is that what it was?
I think that it wasn't really that he didn't know, but rather that he wanted to cast it from his mind and just go
Yes.
and drink
I
large
think there was a
quantities
sense.
of beer
There was a
with
sense
his
of
friends.
yes. It was a rhetorical
It was.
question and a sense of
It was.
irony, really.
It
There.
was like. Let me give an analogy here. It's like singing or play the what was it? The orchestra or band? The band, yes. The band played on when the Titanic went down,
Yes.
and in the same way, the British kept drinking as the coronavirus ravaged the country, or at least attempted
Yes.
to, and then they closed the pubs. It was a bit like that. It was a desperate attempt to hold on to something that you were being lost, but it was being
Yes. Now I
cruelly
have
ripped from
another
your hands.
area. I have another area which is
I know you have another area.
I do. I have another area of concern,
Yes.
and that is that pubs also used to have lots of entertainment.
Yeah.
So the point is that they would have quiz nights, they'd have a band playing, or they'd have a stand-up comedian or something like you.
Yes.
I mean, some of your sermons are very funny, I can assure you.
No, as you know, I
but-
used to be a stand-up comedian.
Yes, indeed.
No one
You
else
could
was
stop
standing up.
doing it now.
No one else was standing up. They were all running out the door, but I was standing up.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. But there is that type of interaction when you're listening
Yes.
to, say, a local band. I mean, some of the local bands would go on to be famous. I mean, I know then, if you were sort of back in the day, as you were saying, is that some bands in the Midlands or even in London went on to go on to Top of the Pops and things like that. I mean, it's great.
Pub culture isn't, as we were saying, although it involves drinking alcohol, isn't all about it. It's about the local community getting together and doing it together in this particular space. So yes, it involves bands.
Yes.
It
I mean,
involves
where are
comedians.
those local bands now going to play? I mean, there's no theatres. There's no
Yes.
cinemas.
Yeah,
there's no public place for them to play,
No,
and there's
it's
nothing better than seeing a band
No.
live. Is
I mean, there is online versions of it, with people getting
Yes,
known through
it's not
doing
the same.
things in their bedroom. But as
You've
I
lost
say,
the
it's not the
sweatiness.
same. Yeah, well,
The sweatiness is gone.
you've yes, and lost the spontaneity and lost the actual human interaction. That's true.
Yeah.
Now, some people might say, obviously, I would never say this, Mark, even though I'm going to. Some people might say, "Well, it's fine not being in a pub because you can interact with people, you can even drink, and you can be in your own home." But you could still interact with people via the internet, or you could have the Mark and Pete podcast on in the background, maybe, and just listen.
Well, I can't see why you would have anything less.
There's no point having anything else on, is there? Really?
No, there isn't. No.
One of the podcasts is there worth listening to, but
I'm
saying is, do you think?
Else.
Oh yes, okay, go on. Yeah.
Well, I
save
think
that
it's
thought.
important
Okay.
because if you think about a pub and
Yes.
you are involved either watching a band or you're in a game of pool or you're talking,
Yes.
you end up with a craving. And I
Yes.
don't just mean for
Yes.
alcohol.
No, I do
I
know what you
know
mean.
that there are many people who are
No.
wondering how they've got basically pork scratchings, withdrawal symptoms.
Symptoms. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what do you do if you got, you could go to the bar and have a nibble on something.
It's
You
not.
know,
It's not quite the same. Yeah. I mean, pork scratching. Also, all of course, dry roasted peanuts or whatever takes your
or dry
fancy.
roasted peanuts, which of course means that you need alcohol to swell it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. You do need to drink more
So
alcohol.
it's like a cycle, isn't it? You sort of there, you set yourself up for the evening. In
Now,
fact, if not, for the day.
yeah. I mean, and it's interesting about pubs that people had strategies in order to be able to survive the fact that they needed to drink alcohol, like buying a non-alcoholic drink every other round and that sort of thing.
Oh.
So there's obviously it was important to people to be there. I know you never tried that, but I'm just saying that's one strategy that people would try.
Well, I always used to go to the toilet at that point. So,
Well, the thing is, of course, you could even go to a pub as, if we just be honest with the listeners for a moment, we're not actually heavy drinkers, and we have even been to pubs and just drunk coffee
no.
and tea,
Well, you
a cup
see,
of tea,
that's the point. You can get a cup of tea.
and
Yes, folks,
and still
times have
enjoy
changed.
it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. So I've found the pubs have improved, and this is why when I say I've stopped going, it genuinely is simply because of the cost. That's what stopped me going. I do like going to a pub. Maybe I don't drink very much
I
anymore.
didn't
Much
like
alcohol.
pubs in the 70s and 80s was there was one thing.
Oh yeah, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Yes, well, actually, it was always in the air, folks, and you used to take it home with
something
you.
in the air. Yes.
Yes. We're not talking about coronavirus. We're talking about cigarettes.
Yes.
And of course, at pubs, you used to be able to, you used to basically find yourself absolutely choking as though you basically smoked a pack of cigarettes yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, of course, times have changed with, obviously since the turn of the century.
Well, we on Mark and Pete, gentle listener, we agree on this. I think, Mark, that we're pretty libertarian in that we don't want the government to put big restrictions on the way people should live their lives. But the banning of smoking from public places has been just of such great benefit. For me, that this made such a huge difference.
Well, it's also in the office
restaurants
as well.
Say that
in the office.
In the office. Yes. It makes a huge difference. But just thinking about the pub, going to the pub was rendered unpleasant after a certain time because of too many people smoking. It really is a disgusting habit. So if you do it, gentle listener, just stop. Yes, I can smell it. Even though this is a pre-recorded podcast, I can smell you smoking. Stop it down now. But yes, there's something about the pub though that we used to go even when there was smoking happening, but it did make it that bit too unpleasant. But now, with the introduction, here's big improvements in the pubs: teas and coffees served, food served, and some of it. My local pub, which I'll name now, is the Egremont Ferry, and it has really good food. Folks. No, but it is it's named that because although the ferries don't stop right at it now, they used to. It's right on the banks of the Mersey.
Yeah. Do you want me to sing the song?
Surprisingly, Egremont. Please don't. I hear it too often on the ferry. If you go across the Mersey, it's played, ladies and gentlemen, every time. Yes, ferry across. No, don't sing it. So I say this local. It's a brilliant pub, the Egremont Ferry. If you're ever in Wallasey, go and check it out. But not now because it's not open. And the thing is, it was
the Mersey's not open.
Well, if only that worked. But it's worse than that. The pub's closed, and it was struggling. Not because it wasn't a good pub. It was doing very well in terms of quality, but just because the prices are so high, the taxes need to come down. I know they've been fixed for a few years now, the tax on alcoholic drinks, but it needed to come down, I think, and especially I think on local breweries. And trying to get people to consume local produce is a good thing anyway. But just bring about the price of it.
I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Yeah, go on. Yeah. What?
Well, I'm going to make a
You make a
suggestion.
suggestion, yes.
And that is,
Let's go
and
down the
here's a
pub. Oh,
suggestion.
we can't.
As we all know, the pubs are struggling, folks.
Yes.
And it is, and I'm quite right. I mean, I'm going to be honest that I think drinking and driving is not a good thing. But many people can't walk to the pub.
No.
But what you could do
Exactly.
is
You need to
this.
be able to.
You could say anyone who goes to the pub is given a ticket, and they can have a free taxi ride home. Effectively, it's the government
Yeah.
taking it off the bar bill, basically, or a bus. So basically, the point being is one of the reasons why a lot of these pubs are struggling is because there's alcohol sold in supermarkets, and then not enough people can now drive because they recognise, and rightly so, that if they have more than one pint or something like that, they're going to go over the limit, and that's perfectly reasonable. We want to stop danger with alcohol.
It depends how long you're there.
However,
it affects you,
if you are having an evening of it, you've got a problem, haven't you? You either have to stay at home, and unless you're in a place where not many people, particularly if you're in the countryside, you can't walk to the pub. You have to drive. Whereas if you could take a taxi or take public transport, well, that's costly. So why can't the government cut it down and encourage people to go to the pubs? There's a suggestion.
I take your idea and raise it one. Why can't we have more local pubs? Yeah. So if the opening of pubs were made easier, so there's planning permission, there's grants to do old buildings. You want a nice old building done up for a pub, don't you? But if you have grants to do up buildings, and there was a special reduction on business rates for pubs, then because what you want is a pub in each community. So for community pubs that serve local beer and if it's available local wine, then you get a tax break. Let's make it.
Here's another one.
You can walk to your local pub. Just have a pint or have a sip of wine and go home, or a cup of coffee.
How about a mobile pub? Now there are many big places or venues where what you could do is that you could have an equipped vehicle which is has all the barrels in it. Believe me, for one evening, it is possible to do this, folks. Where you have effectively a pop-up pub. A pop-up pub. It could go to a cinema or anywhere that there is, for example, a place where people can get to easily. Now, what that would mean is you wouldn't have all the same overheads as building a pub, as you were suggesting. Now, that's the sort of thing, which means that those local pubs or breweries, could actually have more outlets. That would be a good idea.
Now, listen, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a few months without the pubs, probably.
Yes.
So it's time to come up with ideas. Let us know that if you're watching on YouTube, put comments down below. How should we get people back in the pub, or should we? Down in the comments below. Or if you're listening on podcast, go to Spreaker. Spreaker.com is where our audio podcasting is. Go there. There'll be a link in the show notes. Go there and make a comment there and let us know, because we'd like to use your thoughts to give us free content. I mean, we'd like to have you like to hear from you, but also this could have a real world effect, because not many of you will know. I'll just reveal this, that I actually do have a catering business. I have a coffee bar, a company of which I'm director,
which has had to close.
And we just had to close as well. Absolutely. What do we do to reopen it? Should it transform into a pub? I mean, is that what that's what's needed? Should it be a local pub? Let me know. Exactly. And the best suggestion for what we should do with the coffee bar and turning it into a pub. What theme should it be? What drinks should you sell? The best suggestion. Gets a free drink when I reopen it. How about that? I can't say fairer than that, but I think that's probably about time.
Well, I think it is very nearly, but I think we're sort of calling time on the podcast, and so it's time,
gentlemen, please.
Indeed, to end it with the appropriate way, which of course for everyone is a little poem. To the long, the short, and the tall, there's nowhere left to have a ball. The pubs have closed, large and small, no place in which to fall or crawl. Empty streets with no one to brawl. The bevy business has gone to the wall. Let's drink to the future and the long haul, and just call time for one and all. Well, there you go. I'll raise a glass to you, the listener. Toodle pip.
Yes, thanks. Yes, bye for now. This has been Mark and Pete
Half
with
Cut.
Half Cut.